Hi guys! So today I'm sharing with you one of my favorite chocolate cake recipes. It's a one bowl, easy cake that is super moist and super delicious. So here we go. In a mixing bowl, I have 1 3/4 cups of flour and I'm adding to it 2 cups of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1½ teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I'm using a whisk to mix it all together and get out any clumps. In a measuring glass, I'm breaking open 2 eggs and adding 1 cup of milk, a half a cup of oil, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and then I'm mixing it all together with a hand mixer before I pour it into my dry ingredients. I'm going to mix my dry and wet ingredients together with my hand mixer, and when it's completely combined, I'm adding in 1 cup of boiling water. This will be a very thin cake batter, so don't get scared when it seems a bit runny. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. Once my batter is ready, I'm pouring it evenly into 2 greased and floured 8-inch round cake pans. Then I'm placing them into the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes or so. Now sometimes 2 cakes don't bake at the same speed, so you'll end up with 1 cake taking a little bit longer to finish than the other, and that's completely fine. Just remove the one that's baked completely and let the other one finish by itself. But keep an eye on it, set the timer. It usually only takes about another 3 or 4 minutes to finish baking. While my cakes are baking in the oven, I'm making my absolute favorite milk chocolate buttercream frosting. This frosting goes perfectly with this chocolate cake recipe, and it will make just enough frosting to fill and frost these 2 8-inch round cakes with pretty much none left over, which is perfect. So I'm placing 4 sticks of room temperature butter into a mixing bowl, and I'm using my hand mixer to beat it into a very smooth and fluffy consistency, which takes at least 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes or so. If you have a stand mixer, you might prefer to turn it on and just sort of walk away for 5 minutes, but I like to use my hand mixer for this. So I'm going to beat this until it's nice and fluffy. Once it is nice and fluffy, I'm measuring out 4 cups of powdered sugar and I'm adding that little by little into my creamed butter. Once my powdered sugar is completely combined into my fluffy butter mixture, I'm adding in 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder, and I'm using my hand mixer to continue to blend it all together. Next, I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and blending it all together. Next, I'm adding in half a teaspoon of salt, and then I'm going to blend it together. Then I'm adding in 3 to 5 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, and then I'm going to blend that all together as well. Now that everything's mixed together with my hand mixer, I'm going to grab a spatula and just scrape down the sides of the bowl and make sure everything is all combined. Alright, next up is my cakes. They have baked and cooled and are ready to be turned out of their cake pans. So I'm using freezer paper to cover the cake pan and then flip over my cake. Once they are both flipped out onto the countertop, I'm going to place one of them onto a 10-inch round cake decorator board. I'm placing a few scoops of frosting onto the cake and spreading it around using an offset spatula and my round cake turning table. Once I have it nice and smooth and even, I'm adding the second cake piece right on top. Then I'm just repeating that process, putting a few scoops of frosting on the top of my cake, and again using that same offset spatula to work the frosting all over the top of my cake and then down the sides. Then I'm going to use a decorator comb to add some design to the side of my cake. Now I'm just using a paper towel to clean up any frosting that landed around the bottom edge of my cake and just to make sure that it's nice and clean. Next, I've added some frosting to a bag fitted with an extra large coupler set and an extra large tip. The tip is by the brand Ateco, A-T-E-C-O, and it's number 849. I'm doing a very simple, non-complicated, easy peasy design around the edge of the top and the bottom of my cake. Basically, I'm making a line, and then I come back to the middle of the line, and I lift up and away. Then I make another line right next to it, and I come back to the middle and pull up and away. And I just repeat that, repeat that, repeat that, till I have the entire bottom part of the cake done, and then I do the entire top part using that same design. Now, what's a chocolate cake without some sprinkles? Pretty boring if you ask me. So I pulled out my chocolate sprinkles and I added some around the edging of the top and the bottom of the cake for a nice finished and polished look. I hope you guys like this tutorial and that you enjoy making and eating this delicious chocolate cake as much as I do. Thanks for watching!